Hey, what's up, guys? It's Michael from Family Gamer Review, and for day 11, we are going to play for the Light of the Blue Challenge, Toy Soldiers War Chest. If I'm saying that correctly, it's so hot today, I think I'm losing my mind. But you're asking yourself, you know, why a tower defense game? And for those that don't know what a tower defense game is, you're going to see in a moment what a tower defense game is, and I'll explain it for those that don't know what it is that you set up the defenses. You try to prevent an enemy from reaching from point A to point B. So you'll set up defenses somewhat like gun turrets or laser turrets or things of like artillery and so forth. Now, for some parents, as you may or may not be aware, here at Family Game Review, we cover all types of games, from early childhood to mature. And there may be titles at times that may not be fully appropriate for all gaming members. Some may say that this game may be a little violent, and we tend to agree and so forth, but the reason why this is on the challenge itself is because, number one, this is a huge hit with all our gamers. Everyone that, in our gaming family here loves this style of game, especially with the fact that they went with licensing with G.I. Joe, Cobra, Masters of the Universe, Assassin's Creed, and so forth. This is something that is like a big hit here in the office. Also, the simplicity of Toy Soldiers, is something that, has always been a fan favorite, just both here in the office and, with the autistic community. The objective is simple. Just prevent the toy soldiers from marching into your toy box, and if too many get in, then you lose the round. So, you get to command, the turrets and so forth, and there's a lot of interesting things, like as you see here. Now, again, this is not meant for all family members. This, you may have early childhood, children, maybe between ages of 2 to 7 or maybe 2 to 8, that you don't want them to play a game like this, and it's totally understandable. This is at parents' prerogative. But for your older gamers that don't want to play the platform games and they want to play, more of a game that's not too violent, of something of sorts of like Mortal Kombat, but just enough of a challenge where they could say, hey, this is a fun game. And believe it or not, even though the game involves shooting and so forth, the game is not as violent as you think. Imagine like as you were growing up as a child, or if you had any brothers or sisters and they played with action figures and so forth, it is the equivalent of them just, playing in their toy box. Toy Soldiers has never been a violent series, to say the least. There's been one that takes place in World War One. Cold War, which is a sequel, takes place in the 80s, during the Cold War, and this was the actual sequel to that, where they actually went with more of the feeling of playing a game in which you're playing with things that you would play from your childhood. Like, I grew up playing with Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joes, and so forth. So this is more of a game where you would play with action figures and things of that sort. But it's just more on the scale of like, hey, what if all my action figures moved around? So, as you see here, this is something where, again, with the tower defense, right here, that little box there that says G.I. Joe, you want to prevent the enemy from reaching that box. So, you'll scout around, you would look, it'll give you an after-action report. You could take the winnings from, everything, come in here, upgrade your weapons, upgrade defense. I'm going to do a quick upgrade here. And this is not going to be a long Twitch cast. I wish we could do a video casting of it, but Microsoft's having issue with the Kinect camera, so unfortunately we're not able to. But this is a great game, especially for people that are on the spectrum, and I'll tell you why. It's a simplistic game, but not too simplistic. Again, as with tower defenses, this is something that they could position themselves. If anything, look at it as a unique form of chess without having it be chess. Like, you have to set up defenses in these little pods. You have to choose whether you want to set up an anti-armor for like tanks and so forth, or anti-infantry. These things help. Like, for an example, I'm going to set up an anti-infantry here because you see, let's zoom in, how the enemies are coming in this direction. And that infantry would be either automatic or manual. You could choose to have it manual, when you could just, jump in and start shooting, or it could be automatic, whereas that turret is already taking out the enemy. There is, like I said before, there is some, a lot of shooting and so forth, but it's not gratuitous violence as you would expect, like in other games like Call of Duty or Battlefield. Uh, this is more mild mannered and so forth. It's like the equivalent of something you would see on Cartoon Network with like, Ben 10, but nothing over the top like you would see on Toonami. So again, this is a very fun game. This is multiplayer, but as the game is an older game, there's not much of a following right now as much. I wish there were, but there is not as much at this time. But it doesn't mean that it's a game that you can't stop playing. And the single player of the game itself is actually very fun. We've had many a times where we had a lot of our gamers here that enjoyed the game. They had a lot of fun. They felt that this was a great genre. Again, this is not a taste that everyone's gonna like. There's gonna be some people that may not like a tower defense game, or too slow for them, or some may even find it too simplistic, to believe it or not. But this is the 30-day challenge, and we wanted to showcase all types of games. And I personally, as well as my son, we both enjoy this series a lot. We also, we think that the series is a great series. We think it's a great gaming series. Again, he's a fan of, believe it or not, of G.I. Joe. He actually followed in my footsteps, and he loves the G.I. Joe series. But I have a daughter that loves the Masters of the Universe series, like, with He-Man and She-Ra and so forth. And they are in the game. And they are able to be used without any problems. As with any game, you have to earn them, through in-game credits and so forth. But if there's a collector's edition where they come with the collector's edition, so, something that if you are planning to buy the game, you want to buy the game with the exclusive DLC, because there's two types of games. There's ones without it, and there's ones with it. So you want to make sure you purchase the one with it. So, as you see here, in between waves, you have a counter on the upper right-hand corner that tells you when the next wave's going to start. You could, start the wave if you feel you're ready. Some people, like myself, want to go and make sure that all my defenses are up in order. I'm an old fart, so for me, the more time I have in between waves, the better. But there may be some that may just say, hey, I'm ready to go now, and just start going. And the advantage is kind of like chess, so you have to ask yourself, especially as a parent when you watch your children play, if you're helping your child play a game and so forth, you have to ask yourself, okay, if the enemy soldiers are coming this way, is it better for me to put a turret over here versus something that's anti-tank? As you progress in the games and you use the different armies and so forth, between the Assassin's Creed series, G.I. Joe Cobra, there's a German army division you use. There is unicorns, believe it or not. It's one of the other special things that I loved about the game, that it's not just focused on boys' toys, it's focused on girls, and that's why my daughter liked it. She, calls herself a self-proclaimed unicorn, so I'm gonna roll with that, and she could actually play as a faction that has unicorns, and she loves it. She actually found the game exciting, and which she's not even into this types of games. So, I wish there's more I could say about this game. There is, I'm gonna bring Camille on board. She's finishing eating some Cheetos, so. But this is a game that I highly recommend, especially, for parents that have children between the ages of 8 to 12, and they're kind of outgrowing the early childhood games and so forth, and they want to play something a little bit more fun. This is one of those games that I would highly recommend. Do not allow the fact that the game has shooting and so forth to say, like, okay, I don't want my kid to play it because it's going to be over violent. It's not an over violent game. This is actually, if anything, a game that's actually well done. And I was going to debut the other games, like Cold War. I really wanted to debut, but then when I realized, when we did a survey and we were doing the list, that this game here, the War Chest, was a lot more popular because of the licensing. Where, believe it or not, as much as I hate to say it, none of my kids knew what the 80s were, let alone who Rambo was or Gorbachev, or even Maverick from Top Gun, which it's a crying shame. You gotta know who Maverick is, but I mean, for them, they kind of got lost with the 80s timepiece, where this is more current, to say the least. So I am going to wait. Oh, the maps. Thank you, Camille. Like, there is a lot of different maps, different variations. out of the fact that I don't want to spoil the game for others, I'm only showcasing one map and gameplay right now. But there are multitudes of maps, different challenges, different modes of play, different types of challenges within the modes to conquer. So if you're someone that likes to be challenged, this game has a lot of challenge to it. It's not something that you would say like, okay, I could beat this in one sitting. This is a game, believe it or not, that is actually very fun because of the challenges. So, as I cannot talk and play at the same time, I'm going to turn over the headset to Camille. Again, I apologize everyone because of the fact that our Kinect camera is acting up, and unfortunately Microsoft said by the time, that they would be able to get us another another camera, it would have been too late, and we didn't want to delay the broadcast. So I'm going to turn it over to Camille. She's going to give you her mom's perspective of this game, and we'll go from there.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. Pardon me for eating some Cheetos. Needed to get a little blood sugar in me, but very happy to be broadcasting Toy Story War Chest tonight. As you can see here, Michael did mention that there are other characters and other levels, and that's something that not only adds to the inclusion of the game, like as you can see right here, this is entirely different from the G.I. Joe map. Completely different, would appeal to a totally different player, and you can play with different characters. So you can be a hero in the game and be one of several different female characters, which is great. Oh, great. Mike's gonna showcase some of the heroes so you can get an idea, because you want heroes that are also worthy for your gamer to look up to. And there's a whole bunch of different ones here, enough to suit everyone's not only some gender equality in the game, but also people's different preferences. If they want to be more spacey looking, more military looking, and all the different maps. So there's a lot of versatility in the game, and as I always say, versatility equals value. You're getting a lot more for your purchase when there's different characters and different levels. But from a special needs perspective, I consider Toy Story War Chest sort of an evolutionary step in gaming. So if you have a younger child on the spectrum who has been enjoying all the sensory stimuli in something like Rayman Legends, or Pac-Man Championship Edition, or so many other classics that are great for gamers on the spectrum, Toy Story War Chest is sort of a step up into cognitive skills and cognitive development, because there is so much strategy involved. And this is another game where we did have some parents asking, will this be too difficult? There was a question about the violence at first, and then they saw that there really is no blood or gore or any type of graphic violence. Literally, the fallen enemies just disappear, so it's virtually harmless. But the strategy of it, oh, this is a survival mode. Mike told me to pass along. This is a...
See, and look at the hittingness of the game. Like, the anti-infantry weapon is a bubble gun.
The anti-infantry weapon is a bubble gun. Not bubble gum, a bubble gun. So it's definitely a family-friendly game. Oh, I see it. It's like a bubble jar, but a bubble wand, but it shoots bubbles. That's cute.
The best way to put it is like when you're playing if they can hear me. The best way to put it is like, imagine when you were growing up in the 80s or even in the 90s, and you had your bedroom and you had all your toys set up, and you would play like mock warfare or just like, react, something that you saw in an episode of your favorite cartoon. That's what the developer did here. They just took that formula and just made it into a more of a video game scale. That's why this game formula works. Think about it. When was the last time with the kids' imagination, they used a bubble wand as a toy, as an anti-infantry weapon. Right here, a moonbeam by using like a little compact, right here. This is, it's harmless fun. It's not violent to say the least. Like right here, they fall if anything, and I'm hitting them with bubbles. Like right there, we got the close call. And as you see, the waves will come one at a time. Oh, sorry. The waves will come one at a time. And, this is something like good feelings. So I'm upgrading it with the sunflower. And right now it's upgraded. And I'm now going to take control manually. So you could take manual control at any time of any turrets that you create. A lot of tower defense games, and I'm sorry, Camille, I didn't mean to cut you off. You don't have control. The game will control it itself. And I just got an achievement. And those bubbles go, go. So I'm sorry, please.
Well, actually, you just added to what I was saying about the cognitive aspect of it. There's the strategy, and there's the creativity behind different weapons, like a bubble turret.
Yeah, like all these open slots, you have to decide what you want to put on.
And you craft your battlefield as you wish with whatever tools and resources are available to you on that level or map, and with that character. And so you have a lot of endless options, but the strategy is always there, which is, it's such an important cognitive skill for any child to develop, whether on the spectrum or not, and at any age, because that encompasses things like decision making and real life choices. And so it's important that when your gamers start to get a little bit older, pardon me, and they've reached sort of that 8-year-old mark, that you present them with a little bit more of a challenge. Again, this is something that,
It's like,
oh, right, he used the moonbeam and a magnifying glass to defeat the vehicles. That's pretty cool. But the strategy is important, the decision making, the life choices. And one of the reasons that this is fabulous for not only all gamers, but especially gamers on the spectrum, because really, pardon me, the strategy is an upgrade of patterns. When, in the earlier games or in the earlier years, and with some of the titles that we recommended for earlier kids during the 30-day Light It Up Blue Challenge, there's a lot of patterns, and then, say, Pac-Man Championship Edition added a lot of other variables to the patterns. So there was a little bit more decision making in the strategy of how you clear the board and the pegs and avoid the ghost monster. Well, here there's a lot more strategy in how you set up your defenses, but the reason that I say that it seems sort of like an extension or a next evolution of the pattern phase is that when our special needs gamers played this, they progressed very quickly. They took a little time to see what were the patterns of the enemies. Where do they come from? Where are they going? And why? And after just literally a few minutes of understanding what resources do I have. Okay, I've got a bubble shooter, I've got a moonlight shooter,
I got a tank. I got
a
hero.
tank, and then they set up defenses accordingly. Now, you could say, of course, well, all players do. But it just seemed that the special needs testers, they had I guess, a faster grip on it, a faster understanding. They were able to see the patterns in the so-called enemies coming toward your little toy box and set up really solid defenses. And I can recall us looking, sort of sneaking up quietly behind, not to interrupt or, disrupt the flow or anything, and just looking at the screen and saying, I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but that's a really good idea. And we saw that during testing, and so we added it to the 30-day Light It Up Blue challenge. And as you can see, there's certainly nothing in the audio that could be offensive at all. And
Now the hero gets called in. She gets called
oh, the hero's getting called in now.
in. Magical wand.
He's here to save the day.
No, it's not favoring boys. Because the game's not favoring boys or girls. You could repeat it, babe.
Well, I think they can hear you, but the game isn't favoring boys or girls, which is really cool. So again, that's even more inclusion for everyone in your gaming family. On the spectrum, off the spectrum. It's just a great game, and as I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, I think it is important to, if you have a child who is on the spectrum, don't ever underestimate them, because it is not a coding error, it's just a different operating system. And if you can tap into the strengths in that operating system, and a lot of these titles, a lot of video game titles are fabulous for tapping into those strengths. Here at Family Gamer Review, no, we are not proponents of couch potatoes. We are not proponents of not getting enough physical activity. You've heard me say it before, I'll say it again. Whether you are a child, a teenager, or a grown adult, you should be getting a minimum of 60 minutes of physical activity every day. And we encourage all kids to get that. But don't, again, we always try to educate parents. Number one, we do not live in the, Mario Duck Hunt package days any longer. These games are very complex and advanced, and they can really help your child hone certain skills, decision-making skills, choices, which resources are better than others for this specific purpose. And you can help them grow in that way if you know which titles are best for your family and the special, not just special needs, but the individual needs of everyone in that family. And like Michael said, yes, we do review some mature titles. Not too long ago, we reviewed Sniper Elite. And guess what? When we say a family that games together stays together, that's very true. And sometimes when the kids aren't around, I'll tell you, a video game is a fabulous idea for date night. If you and your spouse or partner, significant other, whatever the case may be, you want to try something new, really have some fun, have a great night, certainly not break the bank, there are a lot of great titles out there that couples could play and just have a fabulous time. So we do review for the whole family, all ages, but Toy Story War Chest, we think, definitely deserved a place on the 30-day Lighted Up Blue Challenge for autism awareness and awareness of all kids on the spectrum and people on the spectrum. And we think that Toy Story War Chest is great for strategy, resourcefulness, creativity, fun, definitely sensory. You see how vivid the colors are, and it's, I mean, Rayman Legends did a fabulous job of doing a platformer and not making it seem 2D at all. It very much looked and felt 3D. But this is, like I said, sort of the next evolution, because look at all the different perspectives from which you can view the battlefield.
Like,
or
for an example, like you could tell them, like for an example, one of the upgrades is premium soap with a bubble wand.
Premium soap is an upgrade for the bubble
And
wand.
look, there's a fan that helps blow the bubbles.
And a fan that helps blow the bubbles. An explosion of hearts and stars. So you'll notice how different this looks from the G.I. Joe level. And so that's fabulous from the mom aspect, that you can have one title and it can cater to two completely different gamers, and they can both have an awesome time. Tons of fun. And I always love a title that helps develop cognitive skills, decision making, knowing your resources, knowing how to prioritize your resources, even if it's premium soap. I mean, that's a great place for a kid to start, learning resourcefulness. Oh, Mike. Mike might not make this level.
No, this is survival.
Oh, okay, that's right. This is survival mode. I forgot. Yeah, we'll finish up the level. See what happens afterwards.
I love the snail right
Haha. Aw, how cute. A snail launcher. Snail cannon. That's great.
Big buddy.
Yeah, I think you're getting hurt, Mike.
No, I'm at fun.
Oh.
But see, nothing violent. After action
Yeah.
report. This is a very family friendly.
It is a very family-friendly game. And it's rewarding. So, your gamer can always be trying to outperform their last high score. Powder dust, you get new resources, unlock new things that you can use on the battlefield, like the all-important bubble shield. So that's it for Toy Soldiers War Chest. We thank you for tuning in. We hope that you pick it up for your gaming family, especially if you have any gamers on the spectrum. Again, we think it's a great title to have in our 30-day Lighted Up Blue challenge. And we really thank you for tuning in with us tonight. What's tomorrow night, Mike? Oh, Zuma's Revenge. I feel like I've been saying that for a few days now.
I haven't had the list, and I got all my.
Oh,
So-
that's okay. That's all right. We'll get to Zuma's Revenge. But Toy Story War Chest is great, and we know you love it. So, great title to pick up. And again, it's sort of the next step in evolution in terms of, a game title that will help with cognitive skill development. So, as a mom, that's something that I just love about it. So have a fabulous night or day wherever you are. And thank you for being with us. Thank you for being a part of our 30-day Lighted Up Blue challenge.
Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern Time.
Good night.